Hi everyone. So today's yoga slash a bit more on the relaxation side today is about sleep. And for all of us, like sleep can be interrupted for 10,000 different reasons. So it can be physical, obviously what's going on in your body. It could be that you're dealing with pains. It could be dealing with like recovery. It can be medication. It can be hormonal related. And then it can also be what's going on in our brains. Like, what are we thinking about? How do we feel about it? And so for a lot of us, I mean, we lose massive amounts of sleep. And so I thought that this would be a lovely session to do. And, you know, it is being recorded, as going up on YouTube. So you can also come back to this as well to do if you're having a hard time sleeping. So a couple of things, like obviously during the day, if you do this, we had just been talking about earlier, if you feel a bit sleepy, you can have a big glass of water, and generally that will start to make that sleepy feeling go away. Like if you're doing this and then you're going to an activity afterwards, and it can actually give you a boost of energy a bit later in the day. And if you're doing this at night, then it's lovely to do in your pajamas. So for setup, I've got a cozy blanket and a couple of pillows. So, and I'm near a wall, which is why I'm offset a little bit today. So we're going to use a wall. You know, if you have a chair or a sofa, that works just as well. But you'll see towards the end, we'll be leaning our legs against the wall. So sometimes with sleep, I know for myself, because I have woken up with successive hot flushes, that I've woken up in the middle of the night and screamed fuck really loudly at whoever was around, because I was so frustrated. And this is the thing, is lack of sleep is deeply frustrating, and it's deeply, I mean, it affects everything else that's going on. So kind of reframing some of the reasons why our brain wakes us up. I was reading about a study that had been done into sleep, and it really made me more kind of compassionate about why sleep wasn't happening for me. So if this is useful for you, feel free to take it on. If this is not so useful, don't worry about it. So it was a study that was actually being done into loneliness. And what they found was there was a direct correlation between how many micro awakenings were happening through the night and how lonely someone was feeling. And then they went ahead and did the study in a different country. So it wasn't culture specific, but more human specific. And the thinking around it was that our brains, if they sense loneliness, of course, we would have lived in tribes. And if we were by ourselves, we might not have been safe at night. That's my cat coming in. We might not have been safe at night. So the brain senses loneliness, and this reptilian, this older part of our brain is trying to keep us safe with all these micro awakenings. And of course, with COVID, with, you know, there might be lots of reasons that on top of cancer and on top of medication, on top of everything, that we actually feel a bit lonely or a bit isolated. And then that can affect our sleep. So what we're going to do today is see if we can send new messages to our brain that lets it know that actually right now we're okay. Right now in this moment, there isn't an impending threat, that we're going to take care of ourselves. And so we can do this through movement, we can do it through breath. Ultimately, it all comes down to giving yourself time to tune in. So if anything doesn't work for you today, skip it. That is perfect. That is tuning in, right? So feel free to modify this, to adjust this, to add an extra pillow, to stay in one position longer, to really allow yourself to feel into your body. And you know that that's actually connection. So that connection, that feeling of connection, calms down our nervous system and also calms down those feelings of disconnection that can cause those micro awakenings throughout the night. So we're doing something now that can help us later, as well as this can also help if you do it before bed as well. So we're gonna begin. There's a little chit chat at the beginning, just to kind of frame what we're doing today. So we're going to come into a comfortable position. So I'm quite comfortable like this. Like all of our hips and everything are different. So maybe a cushion underneath your hips would feel nice. Maybe 2 cushions would feel even better. So it's finding what works best for you. I actually find this isn't super comfy for me. So my first tuning in is to see how I feel. So you could be cross-legged, you can have your feet out in front. And just closing your eyes here. And just taking this moment just to check in with your breath. And as you exhale, imagining your shoulders relaxing. And just seeing if every exhale can be slightly longer than the one before. And if there's anything that's a little bit sore, anything in your body, just taking a moment as if you were making a pact with it, that you're going to take care of yourself during this time. This is time for you to tune in, to listen to your body. And then very softly start to open your eyes. So there is something to having a stretch, which we naturally do before we sleep. So we're going to do a couple of exaggerated sort of yawning stretches. So just taking a breath in, maybe bringing your arms up, and then you can make as loud as you want, yawn. We're going to do this 2 more times. So coming up, maybe adding a little wiggle, and then yawning it out. Maybe doing something a little bit different. You can move in any way that you like. And then gently coming back into seated. We're going to start with our wrists and just do little circles with the wrists. And the circles start to go up. And then just slowly let the circles start to come down, going the other way. So we're starting with a bit of movement, just that any tension in the body can have a chance to release. So any of these movements you want to do that feels like it's releasing, that's great. If it doesn't, feel free to skip it. And then gently maybe taking a hand to one side, coming into a side stretch here. And you might stay here in this position. And we're just looking for a nice little elongation around here. Or if you like, you might add a stretchy yawn. Reach up and exhale, just find that side stretch. If you preferred your arm to be down, then bringing it down. So there's lots of options. Inhale to come up. So we're sending a message to the body that right now, everything's okay. We're connecting in. And so the body doesn't have to work as hard. And if you like, stretching up the arm on this side, but for all of us, we're going to be a little different from side to side. So making space for that. So again, take a nice big breath in. Maybe yawning it out. And then on an inhale, gently come back up through center. And let's do some shoulder rolls here. So we're thinking of the shoulders coming forward, up towards the ears, back, and then shoulder blades come together and down. So we're doing as big a circle as feels good. And what we might find is if we tend to whiz through this movement, we miss some of the sensations. So see on the next circle, can you do it more slowly? What that might feel like. We're gently going to come to the neck area. So again, if you need to move, if this position for this long hasn't, you feel like you want to change into a kneeling position, add an extra pillow, know that you can do that. What we're going to do is take our left ear over to our left shoulder. And then gently bring the right fingers down towards the floor. And then just notice your jaw here. Does it get a bit tight? Just open and close your mouth a little. And you can maybe point a little further into those fingers, maybe taking them out slightly further from your body, maybe not. The main thing with this is, can you find comfort? So these things in our culture that we don't prioritize as much. So we tend to prioritize production, but actually comfort, soothing, rest, relaxation are incredibly beneficial for the body and the mind and our emotional selves. So we're looking for that. And we tune into the more subtle sensations. And with a real slowness, as if we were moving through molasses, you might want to relax that right hand a little. Slowly start to turn your chin towards your left shoulder. You can even take it like a millimeter at a time. You might notice the stretch affecting different parts of the neck. So allowing yourself to feel every little fiber, every little change, little adjustment, till your chin is looking in roughly the direction of your shoulder. And then if it feels good, you can gently lift it up. And then slowly let it come down towards the shoulder. So we're using a little bit of movement while trying to keep it so slow that it lulls the muscles, allows them to release. Opening, closing the jaw if you feel it getting tight. And then gently taking your right hand, placing it into your legs, and then slowly roll your head until your chin comes down to the center, and then gently lifting your head up. Taking a moment here just to feel into what moved, what shifted, what sensations are now around your shoulders, around your jaw, your temples. Muscles of the neck can affect all kinds of places in the head. And so gently coming to the other side. So the right ear towards the right shoulder. And there's no rush. And gently taking your fingers down towards the ground, if that feels nice, or out to the side. Exploring the sensations in your neck, allowing yourself to feel them. With every exhale, allowing the shoulders to soften, the face to soften. And again, as if you were moving through maple syrup, being sweet and delicious, but really, really slow. Starting to move your chin towards your right shoulder. Taking your time, returning to your breath, finding that softness around your neck, around your shoulders. And then gently lifting your chin and gently bringing it down. Perhaps inhaling as you come up. Exhaling as your chin lowers down. And see if you liked moving with your breath. Perhaps you just really liked going more slowly. Seeing what's right for your body today. And relax your hands onto your thigh. And slowly start to bring your chin and roll it down through center until your head becomes really heavy. Relaxing the shoulders, and you might feel a stretch now along the back of the neck. And then very softly bringing your head up through center and giving a little squeeze around the neck, around the shoulders. And I say a squeeze, you can really tailor this as well. If you prefer just to place a hand on, just give a little soft pressure, or perhaps you like a lighter touch. This is your time to find out what your body responds to more. And we're looking for, I'm going to come over here, 2 points on the back of your neck, here and here. And these points are known in acupressure as points to help with sleep. So we're going to, you can either do this with one hand, and I'll let you know when to go to the other side, or you can do it the whole time with 2 hands. Just depends how you're feeling, how you're doing. But we're going to spend a couple of minutes pressing into those spots. And don't worry too much if you're like, where exactly is that spot? I can show you again, but even if you're in the vicinity, so it's the occiput, which is that ridge here, and it's about 3 fingers down, equidistant from your spine. in the middle of the side of your neck. But like I said, don't worry too much about it being perfectly placed. You're going to press in and then just see if you like little circles or if you like it to be just pressed in. What you might find is you feel different sensations in different areas. Like you might then become aware of your temples, your forehead, your jaw. Just with every exhale, seeing what you can soften. With acupressure points, it takes a couple of minutes to activate them. Thinking about this being a sleep point, a rest point. So often when we wake up in the middle of the night, and my example at the beginning was to wake up swearing, is that often we sort of can chase sleep away. And it's totally normal to do that. But when we rephrase it, that our body has woken us up because it's trying to do its best, it's trying to protect us, it's trying to make sure that we're okay. And then there's something that we can do, like a pressure point, like some self-massage, that we can reframe kind of our relationship with our body in the middle of the night, even when we're sleep deprived. And even if it doesn't make us fall asleep right away, rest has a lot of the same benefits as sleep. So if you are deeply relaxed, it is the next best thing to sleep. And then if you were doing it with one hand, just switching to the other side. We are spending some time here. You might notice, and if you were doing it with both hands, you want to keep doing it with both hands, that's great. If you want to stop now, you feel like that's enough, that's great too. Having somewhere that we can wake up in the middle of the night and we can set a compassionate intention of reassuring the body. The alternate is like, why can't I sleep? We're yelling at ourselves and the brain how much we need sleep. And usually that doesn't make sleep come any quicker. But actually understanding, connecting in, using our senses, and particularly with this, it's our sense of touch, to tune in, to give our body what it needs, to send the right signals, to release the right chemicals in our body that are conducive to sleep. You might find that your exhales start to naturally get a bit longer. And then gently bring your hand down. If you like, you can take another big yawn, a big stretch, and just see if it feels any different than how it did before. And then we're going to start to move our legs. So coming out of whatever position you've been sitting in, you can give your legs like a little rub. So with any transitions between movements, because we're coming into that restful, sleepy place, you can keep your eyes closed. You've got time, there's no rush. You can give your legs a little massage. Again, imagine telling every muscle, every fiber that now's an okay time to rest. Or as if we were telling, reassuring, we often reassure our pets or, small children, but actually kind of using that same kind of reassurance on ourselves can be really nice. And then gently coming to a table position. So in table, your hands are under your shoulders, your knees are under your hips. You can always put a little bit of padding underneath your knees. You can make a fist if it doesn't feel good on your wrists. And you can also come down onto your elbows if that feels better, either with your hands like this or your hands together. So there's a few different options, feeling free to see what one works best for you. And then very slowly starting to lower your stomach and lifting your chin. Let your heart softly melt forward. And we're staying here for a moment. And then softly press into your hands, press into your toes, rounding through your back. And staying here for a moment, just feeling your head get heavier, the back of your neck lengthening. And then we're going to move through that position as if we were moving through molasses. So lots of sweet, viscous liquids. But moving as if you've got all the time in the world. You might move with your breath. Inhaling as you come down. Exhaling as you go back. And up. Where you just might find that moving really slowly and breathing at any point feels better. And so there's different ways to do things, because sometimes we have a cough and a cold, or and actually our breath is a little shorter, or we're feeling a bit panicky and our breath is a bit shorter, and that's okay. We still might want to make our movement nice and long. So the nice thing about doing yoga relaxation is it's not just about the rest. Not just about the breath, but it's about using our other senses, touch, feeling, to allow ourselves to enter that restful state. And then gently coming back. If you need to take a moment to come off your hands, that's okay. Sometimes it can feel like a long time when you're resting forward into your hands. So if there's anything that you want to do here, give a little rub. And even these moments, this rub up and down the arms, is using touch, self-massage, reassurance. And these movements do start to chemically change us. Chemically change our nervous system, and then maybe coming back and forward. And now that we're a bit more tuned in, we can create a movement that feels good for us. So maybe it's looking over towards your shoulder, towards your hip, and then coming back to center, and then over towards the other one. Or perhaps you'd like to think about your rib cage going up and around and in a circle. So I'm throwing out options so that you have some time for some intuitive movement. What do you need here? Is it to go a little from side to side? Is it to bring your hips slightly back and slightly forward? Is it to come out of this completely? So we're doing all of these movements to find a way to settle. And then if it feels good, take your knees a little bit wider, take your toes together, and start to bring your hips back towards your heels. And it's in the direction of, so maybe you take a pillow behind, maybe you take a pillow in front, lean back. So there's a few different ways that you can do this. We're just looking to find a comfortable position. And you might have more cushions at home, and maybe you want to take a cushion and place it underneath your stomach, or raise this one up a little higher and give it a hug. And letting yourself sigh or yawn whenever it comes up. If your head is turned to one side, gently taking your head and turning it towards the other. Gently coming back through to center. Coming back to a comfortable seat. And that comfortable seat might be something a little bit different now to how you started. You've got your cushions around, so you know you can adjust. You might keep your eyes still closed until you're seated. And then you're going to have a look at your hand. And around the wrist, there's a few creases, but you're looking for your second crease. And there's like a little spot just under the second crease. So I'm going to come a little bit closer here. So it's on the side that's closest to your body, and it's about 1 finger's distance away from the second crease. So we've got 1 crease, 2 crease, and then that point there. I'm just going to gently press in here and close our eyes. So this is another point that can be really useful for sleep. And as you just gently start doing these little tiny circles, so you're just pressing in. It's not a big circle, it's just almost imperceptible. If someone was looking, they'd barely notice. Letting your shoulders relax, your jaw relax. Sometimes even opening your mouth. If you find your jaw is tightening, it's really normal. And if you're doing this before bed, you can spend a couple minutes here. You can do this lying down. the other side. We're going to find the same spot on the other side. So you're looking for the second crease, about a finger width distance, and slightly down, but it's on the side that's closest to your body. Don't worry too much if it's not exactly on the right spot. Sometimes it's still activating it. You might start to feel out this little tender place. Relaxing, letting go of the shoulders. And what we notice as we keep reminding ourselves to soften, it's one way that we can look at the body is really trying to help. So our jaw tightens because it's trying to help. Shoulders raise up because they want to help. So it takes more than one direction to soften, to let go. And if you imagine your body, especially before bed or especially before rest, it just keeps checking in. Like, are you sure? Are you sure you want to rest right now? Are you sure? And this revisiting is like providing waves of reassurance. So it doesn't just come from one direction, one time, one approach. Be using waves of reassurance. Gently bringing your hands together. Maybe bringing a little bit of warmth up. And we're going to take these lovely warm hands and place them over your face. Breathe in and let it out of your mouth. And then take a moment just to find out what your face might like. Do you find that you've got some tension around the forehead? Just gently pressing in along the eyebrow. If you find that you have it more in the temples, just taking a moment just to do one of those imperceptible little circles, pressing in around the temples. See which one you like better. Maybe reassuring your jaw, softly pressing in. Around the jaw, around in front of the ear. Sometimes feel little sensitive spots in there, little groups of tension. So if you find a particular spot, knowing that you can stay with it. And again, these are things that you can do when you're in bed. It's quite nice to do before going to sleep. Most of us hold our jaw in our sleep, like 60%. And when we're going through a lot, we tend to really clamp down. So gently massaging these muscles, this muscle, the masseter here that runs towards between the jaw and the cheekbone. Can be a lovely thing to do at night and in the morning. Maybe doing little circles here. And again, there's a few different spots on this muscle that you can be in, so don't worry too much about being in the exact. If you're finding kind of a releasing sensitive spot, you're not going too heavy, to make sure that you're still nice and relaxed in the rest of your body. And if you're feeling like you might not even be on the muscle, then you can open your mouth and you can feel the muscle move, and then you know that you're on it. Softly relaxing, and then just see, is there anywhere else that you would like to touch, to squeeze, to reassure? Any other little movements, stretches, or yawns that you'd like to make? So this is like, again, like another point of like intuitive movement before we come down to being near a wall or a sofa. So in order to come up to the wall, there's a few ways that you can come down into it. And I like to have a blanket nearby because we can get a bit chilly, and also a cushion just in case. You can come up the side, and sometimes this is a little bit of an undignified process, getting legs up against the wall, so take your time, there's no rush. You can come back and then bring your legs up. And your hips don't need to be perfectly against the wall. Kind of depends what's happening with your hamstrings. So if this feels comfortable, you can rest here. If it feels better with your hips further away from the wall, you can kind of do a little wiggle and give yourself more space. If you're thinking, actually, I'd like to be a bit closer, you can wiggle a bit closer. And then gently have your legs up the wall, and you can place your hands on your stomach. So we've gone around the body, sort of reassuring it, especially around the neck, the shoulders. We've moved the spine, move the shoulders, the wrists. Now we're going to bring some reassurance into the stomach. Noticing how it feels as you inhale and exhale. Then take your hands, one on top of the other, to the lower right hip, so just above your hip bone. Bring your hands up to just below your rib cage. And then bring them across, so stays underneath the rib cage to the other side and down. And if there's anything that doesn't feel good there, if there's anything you need to avoid, you can adapt, or you can choose not to do this one. And then from your left hip point, bringing your hands low and down across to your right hip point. So you're doing a circle here. And you can make it a nice slow circle, but imagining what's behind the circle is imagining your whole digestive system softening and relaxing. If for some reason laying with your legs up doesn't feel good or gives you a sense of it just doesn't feel great for any reason whatsoever, you can also come up to seated for these ones. So stay there if it's suiting you, or you can take your pillows and actually see if you've got some extra pillows, and you can kind of create like a wedge almost, and then come back against those and lie back. So if for some reason being flat on your back is not working for you today, this is another option. You might have your knees up if that feels better. So different things for different days. Come back into the legs up the wall version, but know that you can change at any point. So in this position, when we are still and we are comforted and we have been moving slowly, we've been allowing for these deep breaths, these yawns. And if you are in the upside down position, these are all hundreds of signals that you're sending your body that it's okay to move into its parasympathetic, resting, rejuvenating, restoring, repairing nervous system. That's the one that sleep is also a part of. This position of being upside down reassures the body, because it's not an active position. It's not one that we would choose to be in if we sensed any kind of danger. Sometimes it can take a few minutes. And that's why it's really nice to have a blanket nearby that you can cover with. If this is feeling really lovely and you want to stay here even longer, you can put it around your feet, kind of make a little, almost like a little tent blanket. And especially if you're awake in the middle of the night, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, you've got to be up early, there's a lot going on the next day. Sometimes it's worth getting out of bed and coming into a position like this to help reset. And when you feel those waves of natural tiredness start to flow back through, then gently getting back into bed. So letting your breath smooth out here. As you exhale, imagining all the breath leaving your body. Feeling that rejuvenating inhale, that gust of air that comes in once all the air is left. And then letting all the air out again. got no more air to come out. And then breathing in. If there are thoughts that come into your mind, things on the to-do list, know that that again is really normal. Imagining putting those thoughts where you might want to pick them up again later, maybe by your desk, by the front door. Or if it's a thought that's really not helpful, just imagining it floating off. You're acknowledging anything that comes in and just softly moving them away, giving yourself a little bit of space. To enjoy this breath, to enjoy the comfort inside your body. Moving the breath in and out through the nose. And if you have time to stay in your relaxation position, whichever one you chose for today, you can by all means stay there longer, continuing to let your body settle, continuing to have that sense of tuning in, being in that place, that hazy place between being awake and being asleep. Knowing that while you're doing that, your body is getting a lot of exceptional benefits. I say exceptional because we don't often give ourselves that hazy time that comes with deep relaxation. Those benefits are reducing cortisol in our body. And as cortisol goes down, our immune system kicks in, releasing the repair work on our skin, our nails, our hair. Allowing for jobs in our digestive system, stomach lining, our tear ducts, these like operational maintenance work to be done. Giving yourself the mental benefits of rest, to allow for creativity, for a wider breadth of understanding. Bring us into a more compassionate space. But if you need to move to the next part of your day, super slowly start by bending your knees. And again, moving so slowly, rolling onto your side. Taking a moment here. And then very, very softly coming up to a comfortable seat. I still feel a little bit sleepy after that. So now using that same yawn to now come back into your day, have a look around your room, thinking of the world outside, your windows, doing any little movements that feel nice. Softly bringing your hands to your heart center, coming back to that sense of connection that you feel inside your body. I hope that you have a lovely rest of the day for those of you doing this now with me during the day, and if you're doing this at night, I hope that you have a lovely restful sleep.